We are back on Taking Care of Business with our guest, Fox commentator, author, Margaret Hoover. Okay, we've got one segment left, and Margaret, we've got to have you back, okay, because we've barely scratched the surface on some of the things we wanted to talk about. Okay, you were talking about intolerance. A couple weeks ago, we had some young Republicans in, and we were talking about the future of the party. And one of them, Javier, mentioned, he said there's a Pew Institute study that just came out that said that the majority of minorities, I guess it was 60%, are pro-life, and 63% are against gay marriage. Now, how would we blend that with...
I would love to see that poll, because I am familiar with all of Pew's polling, and
okay.
I have not seen those numbers.
You know, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna try to get it from him and send it to you. Okay?
Please do.
Yeah, definitely. But how do we blend the minority community with the new generation, the youngest generation we have out there? Can we meld them together in the Republican Party?
I mean, yes. We have to, but we should actually sort of look at the data, because I think the first generation of immigrants who come here tend to be a bit more traditional than their offspring. And in terms of non-traditional families, I mean, you have really startling, skyrocketing numbers of single-parent families and single moms in immigrant communities, especially in the Hispanic community, once you get down one generation, 2 generations in some cases. So I think that I think also notions of sexual orientation change. I think there just isn't as much discrimination, and I think there isn't. I'd like to talk to those guys. In terms of being pro-life, one of the culture wars, I think, of the 90s and the 80s don't resonate as much with this generation. I think it's not going to rabble-rouse folks to the polls. I think what I argue in the book is they've really arrived at an organic consensus when it comes to the issue of pro-life, pro-choice.
So is it a non-issue for them?
I think it's a polarization or a binary option that doesn't even represent how they think about it. They agree it's morally unacceptable. I mean, they think that abortion is a terrible thing, and it is.
Good.
It's a tragedy. But they also are not. The majority are not in favor of overturning Roe v. Wade. So there's this notion of, can we win this battle through a cultural war rather than legislatively? And I think that's where Republicans should focus, not on politics. I think there's an important place for a moral and spiritual compass in our culture and in our mediating institutions. But I don't know if by litigating it, and this is persuasion versus legislation. I don't think Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. I don't think that should be the goal.
No, and I don't think it is anymore.
Decreasing abortions and decreasing unintended pregnancies, in my view.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Margaret. I don't think that's a goal anymore, because I don't think it's pragmatic. It's not going to happen almost under any circumstance. Even though some of us would like to see it happen, it's not going to happen. But one of the things you had mentioned yesterday was talking about the different issues that are important to the generation, the young generation. You were talking about obviously the economy, education. But you were talking about how they're pragmatic, not so much ideological. So since the millennium generation tends to be pragmatic, would they be okay with, say, a Michelle Bachmann or a Herman Cain, assuming he or she were okay on all the other issues that are important to the Y generation?
Before you answer that, I got to tell you that Marty lined out most of my questions, and he moved off of this abortion issue real quick before I even had a chance to make my negative comments. And I've got.
They warned me about you, but you've been a teddy bear.
I know. I've got the solution for part of abortions. Is it approve gay marriage, and that will eliminate a lot of abortions right there.
You're going to have to explain that to me later.
They don't have babies.
How about them Dodgers? So you're gonna go skateboarding on the beach today, Margaret?
Rollerblading.
Okay. See, Clay takes the happy pill, and when it kicks in, you never know what comes out of that.
One more gay question I have to ask.
Do it.
They just approved gay marriages in New York, which they're going to try to overturn. But do you see that coming? Gay marriages in California, number one, and number two. What's wrong with civil unions rather than marriage?
So So marriage is actually already legal in California. The decision's just been stayed while the Ninth Circuit and the state Supreme Court figure out whether the group that intervened on behalf of the defendants in the Prop 8 trial it has standing. This is a technical term, a legal technical term. But they basically overturned the state Supreme Court decision in the federal court in San Francisco. So marriage technically is legal again in California, but the decision, it's been stayed until the courts work out whether one of the legal groups has standing. So I guess that answers your question about California. The argument I would make about the difference between marriage and civil unions is that, and this is the argument actually that was made by Ted Olson, who is one of the founders of the Federalist Society, couldn't have more conservative credentials. I mean, he was George W. Bush. He argued for Bush in Bush v. Gore. He is largely responsible for President Bush assuming the presidency and not Al Gore because of his arguments. And he was also in Reagan's Justice Department, and he was the Solicitor General for George W. Bush. So he is a conservative in many ways, but maybe we would call him a Western conservative if we were going to break him down, in Goldwater conservative. The argument that Ted makes, Ted Olson, is that separate is not equal. And when you have two different categorizations for people, you are inherently creating a separate class of people and a separate categorization for a separate class of people, and that allows for discrimination. And that is the argument. If you have to call it something different under the law, then it's inherently going to be something different. And what I would argue from a conservative perspective too is that marriage is one of the societal stabilizers that we rely on. We want people to form cohesive, special bonds throughout their lifetime so that they take care of one another. This is what grounds civilization in self-sufficiency and stability. I want people to take care of people, not the government to take care of people. And we all know there's something special about the word marriage, right? That's why people want to get married, because it's people could sign up for civil unions, but why would you? You want to get married.
Sure.
And it's that specialness that then you say to a certain class of people, you can't have. Mm-hmm. And you can't really tell them why they can't have it other than that because they're different. And I think that's why I think civil unions are inherently different.
Yeah, Margaret, we have to have you back. We're having a conversation with author, Fox commentator, Margaret Hoover. Okay, let me ask you a related question, okay? Mm-hmm. One of the bones of contention here in California has been SB 48, which is textbook teaching gay history in textbooks. And there was, this is terrible. I'm actually with you on this one. Okay, good.
I think the textbook
Good.
It's been so politicized.
Well, there was something in the New York Post yesterday that actually drove me crazy. They were talking about California kids may be forced to learn that, quote, Abraham Lincoln was gay. What the heck
is absurd.
Okay,
look,
good.
The way you guys write your textbooks out here, I don't know what is wrong with you guys on the left coast, but the entire textbook curriculum has been so unbelievably politicized. You guys, and you're not even learning real sort of American heritage or the founding fathers or the basic sort of civic, facts about the United States of America and how it came to be. I think the left-wing agenda has hijacked writing the textbooks, and of course, the notion that you'd be teaching the sexuality of our presidents. Come on, do they even know what the Gettysburg Address is?
Well, and what are you going to do with an 8-year-old? First of all, you're talking about, quote, Abraham Lincoln being gay, which he's not. Now you've got to have the conversation with an 8-year-old about what's gay and what's straight and the whole bit. It's absurd.
You know what? This is the left gone crazy. And this is the problem. That creates a backlash to just treating, to really treating people as people. And I'm deeply against it. Actually, gets my blood boiling.
Well, keep in mind, it's only the coast. Inland has a completely different philosophy.
You guys are where you guys are part of a way more saner part of California. And our family, my dad's family, had a farm in Bakersfield for 100 years.
Wow, 100 years.
Coberly West Cottonseed Oil Company. It was called, and it was my grandmother's father, my great grandfather on my maternal, my dad's mom, had a farm in Bakersfield, and my dad worked in Bakersfield for a little bit when I was growing up.
Wow. Well, if it's over the last 100 years, then Clay may even know them.
I might know some of them. This has been fun. I really enjoyed this, and we got to have you back.
Thank you very much. I would love to come back. I really appreciate you having me, and I appreciate your interest in the book. And I'm also glad that you're talking about the future of the Republican Party, because I think we're having some important conversations about this.
Well, give us your website real quick where people can get more information about Margaret Hoover.
www.margarethoover.com.
www.margarethoover.com.
Great. And Margaret, we'll definitely be talking to you soon, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, guys.
We'll be back in a minute on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio Newstalk 1180.